Hi there, I'm Suzanne, your friendly Stampin' Up demonstrator in Canada. Welcome to my monthly paper pumpkin alternative video on my YouTube channel and blog. I share 5 alternative ways to use the kit in this video, and I sell the products I feature as well. I hope you enjoy my free video tutorial and would love to see you sign up with me as a paper pumpkin subscriber. Visit sunstampin.com for more information. Welcome to this month's Paper Pumpkin alternative video. This paper pumpkin is called the Jolly Gingerbread for November 2020. And inside the box, there was a little pamphlet here that described how you can coordinate with different cardstocks with this paper pumpkin. And here's the stamp set. They also suggested that it would coordinate with Cinnamon Cider Daffodil Delight. The ink is Blushing Bride. There's also Shaded Spruce as well. So once you open up the package, you will find the directions, which are right here, and all the contents that are in the kit. So the directions here share with you how you would put the projects together. Look at these little embellishments, so cute. So I will say this, didn't give me a lot of room to create alternatives, I tell ya, but I managed to get a few out. With this one, I took 5 of the gingerbread houses, and I cut out the doors. So I did 2 of the dark green, which would have been Shaded Spruce, 2 with Mint Macaron, and then 1 with the Daffodil Delight door. So they were all different colored doors. I didn't know how I could, if I was going to use it for another project, so I was very careful when cutting out the door. So this is how I did it. I cut straight up, and then I cut the door out, and then I made sure that I left the dotted line intact just in case I wanted to do something else with it. I didn't know. And I sacrificed like 4 of these or 5 of these guys. So I wanted to be careful and minimize the destruction of my kit. I like doing the kit the way it's intended to too, you know. So because there's not a lot of leeway here in the alternatives, I had to bring in some of my own cardstock. And I've often said that if you wanted to duplicate some of my designs, you might want to make sure that you have some Whisper White thick card base on hand. And that is what I've done here. I've used the Blushing Bride, and I've used this beautiful scrolly elven-like stamp along the ridge or the crease. And then I have my non-porous surface. So this is a Stamparatus grid mat sheet that I have laminated, and I use it to put on my desk so that I can, it's like a non-porous surface, so it's not going to get inky. I could just wipe it and go. It is a handy tool, and it's just something that I've done to keep my ink from getting all over the place. So these little domes, I want to say, like they're let's call them tombstones, shall we? These little tombstones were the negative pieces on some of the, like the die cut of the, I want to like the front part of the gingerbread house. So it's a negative part, so it's a waste. So normally you wouldn't use it. So that's why I'm using it, because I know that a lot of people want to do the kit the way it's intended, but don't know what to do with all the extra pieces. So that's what I'm kind of concentrating on today. I used my non-porous surface. I also used the Stampin' Up blending brush that's coming for customers January. So I get to play with it a little early. So I blended on some ink. So that was Shaded Spruce, Mint Macaron, and I also put on some Blushing Bride. Now, we have sponges that would do the same for this. And you can use a dauber if you wanted, very light hand. I'm just getting used to this brush, so I know that I'm going to be able to use it in the future. So forgive me for bringing in something you can't get just now, but I would write it on your wish list because they're awesome. 3 to a pack for something like 16 bucks, I think. So you saw what I did there. I used some dry adhesive. I put it on my little tombstone. It's not Halloween. And then it's a very graphic card. So just to get the, to get the feel of it. And I put them very lightly on my card just to see where I wanted for placement. Again, like I said, it's a very graphic card. Almost looks like bricks at this point. And then I come in with these stickers. Oh my gosh, they're like peppermint candies. They're all different colors. Shaded Spruce, Macaron, Calypso Coral, Blushing Bride, Daffodil Delight. So I almost forgot the sentiment. So I inked up the Enjoy from the stamp set. And that is pretty much my first card. Of course, feel free to tell me which card is your favorite, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and I would love if you told me why. Everyone says I like this card, but they don't say why. So please say why. Okay, card number 2. And you can see here I was goofing around with the front part of those gingerbread houses. So what I have here, and I don't know what size punch this is. It's smaller than a normal punch, but I don't know. Anyway, I was able to perfectly punch out the little candies around the door frame of the fronts of a gingerbread house. So I sacrificed one of these. And then I punched out all the little dots. Because if there's one thing, there's lots of funky sticker kind of embellishments, but I also like, I don't know, sort of like sequiny embellishments. So that's what that's going to be. And then here's this elven, it's so elven, it's not even funny. It's a lovely stamp, and it's supposed to, I think, go around a doorway, but I'm using it as a like a frame around my sentiment. So that frame, it's just a Whisper White regular weight stamping weight paper, and it is sized 4 by 2 1/8. And then I stamped Wishing You a Jolly Christmas in Memento Tuxedo black ink. I don't know what it is, but on white paper, I like to have a black sentiment. So I guess that's one thing that I would suggest if you did want to duplicate some of my designs, to have Whisper White thick card base and a black ink somewhere along in your stash, because I think it's important. I like having black. It stands out. Sue me. No, don't sue me. All right, so this is my Blushing Bride Stampin' Write marker. So I don't know if you have full set syndrome, but I do. So I have to have all of the markers, all of the inks, all of the everything. It's a problem for small space. Anyway, I took my Blushing Bride marker, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm just coloring in all the little leaves and dots. It actually really makes a difference. So if you don't have the Blushing Bride marker, you could dip your they call them blender pens. If you have a blender pen, that could do. Or just, you know, use a paintbrush and your ink pad. That also could do. So I took my sentiment piece here and I marked with a pencil the top corner and the bottom corner. This is going to help me figure out placement. Then with this other beautiful scrolly elven stamp image, I am kind of stamping around the corner. Obviously I want to make sure that it is kind of underneath of the sentiment piece, but I also don't want it to go off. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just measuring. I'm using my piece there. I'm putting it back in the corner where I need it. And that's why the pencil marks are in. Then I move it away. And then I can push it, the sentiment right out of the way. And then I can utilize that stamp again. And there's even more little scrolly stamps in like this one here in the kit. There's 2 of them, so I ended up just using this just one, but I filled the gaps basically, so now it's lovely. So now I'm going to bring in that brush again, and it's filled with Blushing Bride, so I just wanted a very light tint, so I'm just sort of rubbing it in the center, just giving it a little bit of color, not too much. You can see how gentle you can get that color on there. So I erased my pencil lines, and now I've put dimensional adhesive on the back of my sentiment piece and lined it up perfectly, made sure it was straight, and folded my card base. Now here comes the little dots. I ended up putting glue down. You could use any glue that you want, or the glue dots that come in the kit. I just find this wet glue easier. With my Take Your Pick tool, I'm picking up the little dots, and I also took the pokey end, and it's almost like surgery here. Place and hold. Then with my Wink of Stella, I went over my little dots, and that's just a very subtle embellishment so that it's just not so monotone. And my Wink of Stella, it is lovely to go over all the outside dots. You don't notice it so much on this video, but if I was to show you in person, it actually really makes a difference. So lovely little touch. And that is card number 2. All right, card number 3. This is probably my favorite. Here is the negative piece from the sentiments that you cut out, like the sentiment, what are the labels? There we go. Oh, words are hard. All right, so I have my glue here, and I am going to be making a stencil. So this is it's a silicone mat. It doesn't really, glue doesn't really stick to it. So you're not ruining it. You can just, wipe it up afterwards. So I am gently, very lightly rubbing glue all over the back side of this negative piece, adding more glue when I need it, and just very, very gently sort of tapping on some of that adhesive. Then I set it off to dry, and I just take a baby wipe or whatever you have close to, you can wash it off with a washcloth if you want. So I probably waited 5 minutes, and then I now have a sticky but removable stencil. So I'm bringing in my non-porous surface here, my little laminated grid sheet, and I am going to be using my little brush. You could use sponges if you have them. A makeup brush would do. Even an old makeup brush would do, like what you would use for your blusher. There's a lot of different things. You just have to look around your girly things, and I'm sure you're going to find something that you'll be able to use until January, when you can purchase these makeup brushes from Stampin' Up. Really high quality, perfect size. They're not too big, they're not too small, like they're the perfect size. So I started off with Blushing Bride, And then I have moved on to Calypso Coral. And I just want you to take notice how beautifully these two colors blend. I set up my inks by rainbow order and in hex value. So Blushing Bride comes before Calypso Coral. Believe it or not, Cinnamon Cider is about 2 inks away from Calypso Coral. So these two inks match really well together. And look how they blend. Like, stunning. So Cinnamon Cider is probably my new favorite. Now, it did peel up except on one little spot up there, and I did have a little tear. So I must have added the adhesive just a little too much, but I embellish it with a embellishment later. So this is just a little paintbrush that I have, and I'm sort of flicking on some water over top of my blending just to add interest, and also to like it, I don't know, it creates sort of like bleach spots on it. So it adds just one more little layer. Sorry, that was me hitting my ruler. All right, so I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink. We've already spoke about the fact that I'm using black ink. This says "with love," which I think is awesome. Again, another graphic kind of a card. Very unusual. I've put a dimensional adhesive on the back, cut off the excess. I'm going to add my embellishments here. What are they? The little hard candies. These lovely little embellishments. What are they calling them? Candy stickers. So they're like little stickers, yeah. So I ended up having to put a dimensional underneath my little Calypso Coral candy. And then where I tore, right there, I'm going to put my yellow one. And then my Blushing Bride, okay, look at how many options I gave myself, and look to where I actually put it. So if you think that I always have perfect placement for my embellishments, you are wrong. I do this, I just cut it out of the video. But it's interesting, you know, you eventually land on the spot you like. So that's why I like the take your pick tool as well. It actually makes your hands get out of the way so that you can see where to put your embellishments. And that is card number, oh, and there's a cat hair there. Isn't that great? You could just pause the video and look at the lovely cat hair. I wipe my desk down, you know, before I start, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It just floats right to my projects. All right, so this is card number 4, and I have heat embossed the gingerbread house image. And I've done it a couple of times. You can see up there on the right-hand corner, I've made some examples. I did want to go over sort of what I did so that you can get inspired. Basically using watercolor pencils. This is watercolor paper. So I heat embossed the image with white. And then if you don't know what heat embossing is, email me and I'll be happy to explain it to you. I know it's not necessarily a beginner type of like technique, but it's fun, and I've done it before, I think, on paper pumpkins, but not usually. But I wanted to watercolor this. If you don't have a heat tool, what you could do is just ink up with Memento Tuxedo black ink and color it with your watercolor pencils after it's dried. You just won't get the raised image. So you can see what I'm doing here. Sometimes I add the watercolor pencil to the watercolor paper and then work with it with my water, what are these called? I think they're just water painters. Let me just double check on that for y'all. They're new. Water painters. Yeah, that's what they're called. They're 3 different sizes. They're awesome. I do like to have a little baby wipe or paper towel or something off to the side so that I can take water off. It's fine to, there's water in the handle and that's great, and you can squeeze it out and everything, but sometimes it's hard when you just want to wipe off some color. Maybe you got a little bit too much. I do it often, or I just want to change colors. So sometimes the watercolor pencil actually kind of goes up into the brush nib of your water painter. So I have always sort of like something off to the side. And you can see what I'm doing here. Sometimes I scribble the watercolor pencil right on the watercolor paper that I am working on, and I can pick it up. So it's like a little palette for me. I can mix two colors together. I find watercolor pencils exceptionally versatile, and they are exceptionally affordable. They're not like you get all the colors and you don't have to break the bank, basically. We have two different assortments, and that will get you most of the colors that we have. That will get you more than what you need, actually, because I don't use all the colors when I'm painting. This one has a green door, sort of, and I am just, you know what? I forgot that even the camera was on. I just had some fun. And I think when we're crafting, if we're crafting for a purpose, that's great. But a lot of times we forget to have fun, and we're all stressing about, you know, making it look perfect, or at least I know I am. I'm like, okay, well, I have, you know, 5 of my viewers that are going to watch this video, so I've got to make it perfect. And I forgot y'all were there watching with me, so which is good. I've started a new television series, or my new Netflix series on right now, called The Designated Survivor. I'm not into politics at all, but I love Kiefer Sutherland, and I don't, you know, I'm Canadian. I don't even I don't even know how the American politics work, and that's okay. I enjoy it's a good show. I'm enjoying it. So I was just listening and watching and pausing and painting, and I really enjoyed myself. So what else can I tell you about this technique? There's sometimes I can add more water and create a washed out look. With this house that I'm coloring now, the one with the orange door here, I ended up drying, well, not drying, I guess. I ended up coloring the house, and then it turns out brown. And then I sort of go in with yellow after the brown had dried to create a warmer brown, so I can layer on color. And sometimes that's a little bit difficult when you are dealing with, say, non-watercolor, like a pencil crayon or something like that. You wouldn't be able to necessarily do that so well. I find that sometimes using the blends markers, sometimes it bleeds through your paper. Sometimes you don't get light saturation. Sometimes you miss the saturation. Using watercolor pencils, I can lighten this up and start off decently light, or I add more water and I take it away. So you can see that what I'm talking about here as I make my house brown, and then I just let it dry for a bit, and I knew that it was too kind of browny colored, but I was going to go in again with my crushed curry and warm it up, and I did find that very easy to do. So for the house tiles, I am coloring them in different, I'm trying to be random about it. And I usually choose about 3 different colors, and I put them on full strength, just color in the little, I want to call them scales. And then with my water painter, I go in and I activate the color. Sometimes I'll wipe it off with a baby wipe. Sometimes I will just move on to an empty roof tile and color it so that there's a variation of colors. I really like that. I think it adds a lot of interest to this house, or these gingerbread houses. And you can kind of see how I wanted that orange door to not be so orange. So I, swiped right outside of the house. And I like being able to do that. You can see the paint just goes straight down. And by doing so, I'm able to, I don't know, smooth out the coloring a little bit. I really liked how these turned out. The watercolor pencils were the perfect medium for that. So put that on your wish list as well. This is Fluid 100 watercolor paper. We sell the watercolor paper. Stampin' Up does anyway. And now I'm just cutting it out, and then I just toss away my little palette there. I try not to abuse watercolor paper, but I also feel very painterly when I add my watercolor pencils and pick up from what I'm working on. It just gives you a feel of artistry. All right, so this is a slimline card. Slimline cards are 8.5 by 7, scored at 3.5. And I have my mint macaron here and my new ink brush or blending brush. This is the crease that I'm working on, so not to confuse anybody, I was trying to make a sky, and there's not really a lot of blue that goes in this kit, so I just kind of stuck to the coordinating Stampin' Up colors that they had suggested on the instructions, which were Blushing Bride, Calypso Coral, Cinnamon Cider, Daffodil Delight, Mint Macaron, Shaded Spruce, and White. All right, so now, first off, I'm going to ink up the Wishing You a Jolly Christmas with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I stamped it about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom and about an inch from the right side. I am adding some adhesive to my watercolor houses. 2 have just dry adhesive and 2 have dimensional adhesive. And I'm going to plunk one of the houses directly above the sentiment. And then I'm just going to vary the positioning of my houses. I love the way they turned out. It looks like a little gingerbread city. And so I kept the bottom white to make it feel like it was kind of snow. And then I put my candy stickers starting from that left house, and I did about an inch each way, and I used all the colors, and then I used Calypso Coral and the Blushing Bride extra. So that is my slimline card number 4. On the windows here, I used Wink of Stella. I wanted to look like they were, I don't know, like the lights were on in the house. They all look really different. I like them. All right, this is the last and final card of the video. I have Mint Macaron here, my card base and my ink. I have a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 card front. I'm inking up with that little flourish. And I'm stamping, so this is just first generation stamping. Then I'm going to bring in a little piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to start my second generation stamping. So I stamp off, and then I stamp onto the project. It's easy to go too fast and miss a beat, and I feel like sometimes when we do that, we go, oh, well, it's just a handmade card, it's acceptable. And it is, but craftsmanship, I always feel is important as well. So all you have to do is slow down and ink, and, it's repetitive stamping, but you know, you won't make a mistake that way. You won't rock your stamp. All right, so I have brought out my blending brush again. You could use a sponge or a dauber, whatever tickles your fancy. This is one of the house fronts that, or I think it was for the inside of the card, to be honest. And I sacrificed one of them for this card. So I'm inking up with mint macaron. And then I used that beautiful flourish, and I have another watercolored house. And you saw how I did the houses in the last card design. So I have put, this is sort of like just a lovely background. It's not too busy. And I think because it's got generational stamping on it, that's the reason why it's not too busy. Then I put my little scalloped piece here, and I put dimensional adhesive on the back of my house. And then I ended up having to layer the top two there. I had to put them double adhesive, double dimensionals. And then I placed the house right on that little scrolly elven design. Words are hard. And then I used one of the labels that came in the kit, and it says, again, wishing you a jolly Christmas. I put 3 dimensionals on, so one was double stacked, and then I just cattywampously put the sentiment, and then a little mint macaron smoke coming up from the house. And kids, that's it. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. On screen are 2 more videos for inspiration. Click on the maple leaf for my blog, or click on me to subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching.